The only person with whom you have to compare yourself is you in the past. We are what we are because we have been what we have been. One day, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. The mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. The mind is never satisfied with the objects immediately before it, but is always breaking away from the present moment and losing itself in distant regions. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. The mind is a labyrinthine and dark place, and it takes courage to confront its secrets. The mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. The mind is certainly the most interesting thing in existence. Whatever we may learn about anything else, the body, or the stars, or atoms, or the particles that compose them, we shall never know more than our minds tell us about them. The interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind. The madman is a dreamer awake. The unconscious is the true psychical reality. In its inner nature, it is just as much unknown to us as the reality of the external world, and it is just as incompletely presented by the data of consciousness as is the external world by the communications of our sense organs. Where ID was, there ego shall be. The ego is not master in its own house. The ego is not sharply separated from the outside world. It extends to the perceptual system and to the bodily organism. It is a mistake to think that we have evolved to be rational and logical. From error to error, one discovers the entire truth. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. Illusions commend themselves to us because they save us pain and allow us to enjoy pleasure instead. We must therefore accept it without complaint when they sometimes collide with a bit of reality against which they are dashed to pieces. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love. The best proof of love is trust. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. Most people do not really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. A man should not strive to eliminate his complexes, but to get into accord with them. They are legitimately what directs his conduct in the world. A man who has been the indisputable favorite of his mother keeps for life the feeling of a conqueror. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. If you want to understand a woman, you should first try to understand her mother. The great question that has never been answered, and which I have not yet been able to answer, despite my 30 years of research into the feminine soul, is what does a woman want?